Hello and welcome to Lofty Pursuits and Public Displays of Confection in Tallahassee, Florida. I'm Greg, and me and Markee are going to make hard candy today. We're going to make it on this drop roller that's dated from 1871. This is sort of a second part video. Our first part was video number 44 about blackcurrant. I discovered blackcurrant as a flavor from you viewers mentioning it in comments. It's a common flavor in Europe, but it's an uncommon flavor in the United States. So I wasn't familiar with it. And it's the purple of Europe, and the purple of the United States is grape. But if you ask somebody from Europe about our grape candy, they're not going to say it tastes like grape. They're not going to be quite sure what it tastes like. And I wanted to figure out why. I went down many dead ends trying to find this out, and I did not have any grape expectations about having success. But I ended up finding a wonderful story about the temperance movement in the United States, about early 20th century flavor technology, and about how a serendipitous moment in a mass transit like a bus or a train can change the world. And I love that it took a train for me to get to Manhattan to meet Dr. Nadia Berenstein. She did her doctoral thesis on the history of artificial grape flavoring, and she was nice enough to sit down with me for a few moments and tell me about it. So far with this batch of candy, we got the sugar up to 310 degrees, we poured it on our candy cooling table, and once it got down to a reasonable temperature, we added citric acid, and the citric acid will make the candy taste more like a fruit, as all fruits, including grapes, have some citric acid in it. And for those of you who don't like us adding citric acid, well, I think that's just a case of sour grapes. So I met up with Dr. Berenstein, and she talked to me about the history of grapes themselves. It didn't occur to me that the need for a grape flavor is driven by the desire for grape flavoring or things that taste like grapes. And I'm really glad she talked to me about this, because this would have been a missing part of the story, and it really would have left me in a jam.
To understand the history of grape flavor, I think the first thing we have to do is figure out why people were drinking grape juice in particular. In the 19th century, it was uncommon for Americans, probably people in most places in the world, to be drinking fruit juice. If people were making juices, they were usually in the 19th century, especially the beginning of the 19th century, they were usually making juice as a first step to making hooch. Thomas Welch develops a method for making essentially what he calls unfermented wine, which ends up being the drink that we all know now as Welch's grape juice. This grape juice, which is a kind of mass-produced product, kind of rides into popularity on the coattails of the temperance movement, and you start kind of seeing it as advertised as a wholesome and sound beverage. People start drinking this unfermented wine, grape juice.
So Thomas Welch, a name that we all know because it adorns grape juice and jams here in the United States, was a temperance movement member. In other words, he was part of the movement that later led to the American prohibition on alcohol. And he created something to compete with wine that was non-alcoholic, grape juice. This juice was associated with health and healthy and fresh things, and he created a popular movement that created a demand for grape juice, and in turn, grape flavoring. If you want to try this candy for yourself, please go to our website, www.pd.net. You can buy it and have it shipped to you. Or you can just come by our store in Tallahassee, Florida. We're right off the I-10 exit for Thomasville Road. And if you want to see Dr. Berenstein's full interview and other podcasts, you can join us on Patreon. We now have a Patreon page. If this grape drink is grape juice, why doesn't it taste like grapes to people outside the United States?
Vitis labrusca grapes, which are the kind of grapes that are native to the United States. So some of these varieties are Concord grapes, in the South, Scuppernong, Delaware, Catawba. Essentially, they differ from what we think of as European grapes, European wine grapes, or the kind of California red and green seedless that are most common now, in that they have this particular flavor, which the technical term for it is foxiness. So next time you try a Concord grape or a grape Jolly Rancher, the technical way of describing its flavor is foxiness. So that's a foxy Jolly Rancher you got there, or other kind of grape flavored candy.
So the reason why this doesn't seem like a familiar grape flavoring to people in Europe is the grape that it's based on does not grow in Europe. It's an American original, and Concord grapes, which grow up in upstate New York, are not available across the United States but a couple of weeks a year. And they're not just used for jellies and juices, but here in the United States, because back then they couldn't get any other grapes, they've used these grapes for wines. So now that we understand why the demand exists and why the flavor is different, the next question is, how did they get around to developing an artificial version of this flavor?
So how did this Foxy flavor make its way from legitimate grape juice, legitimate grapes, to artificially flavored grape soda and grape candies? What I found in my research was a kind of incredible story of a young man with a degree in chemistry. He lived in Indianapolis. His name was Gilbert Hurdy, and he had founded a carbonated water company that also made flavorings of various sorts. So he's riding the Indianapolis streetcar sometime between 1909 and 1912. And there's a woman standing next to him on this crowded streetcar, and she smells exactly like grape. The compound that's being used in this perfume would be the perfect chemical compound to use in a new grape flavoring, which he'll produce right at this moment when grape juice is starting to have its heyday. And he finds what the chemical is. It's called methylenthranolate, and he uses it as the basis of a grape flavoring. Methylenthranolate, what's that? Why is it in this catalog? Well, it turns out that in the late 19th century, in the 1890s, in Europe, in Germany, where perfume companies are trying to do research to figure out how to make artificial versions or synthetic versions of some of the most popular floral perfumes of the day, their chemical analysis reveals that methylenthranolate is the key component of neroli oil, neroli scent. They market it as artificial neroli, and that is how Gilbert Hurdy comes across it in a catalog and makes the connection and realizes this is the thing that smells like grape. It didn't smell like grape to people in Germany. Why? Because they didn't have the Vitis labrusca grape. It kind of took this material that entered the marketplace as a precious synthetic floral perfume in the United States, kind of finds its new identity as a grape flavoring.
And now we have our sheets of grape candy out here, and we have to break them up into individual drops. And it may not surprise you that the reason they're called drops is because we drop them. So the artificial grape flavoring that we all know came about because a gentleman was on a trolley and he sort of heard it through the grapevine from this lady that neroli oil, or synthetic neroli oil, smelled and eventually he discovered tasted like grapes. Neroli oil, if it wasn't clear, is the oil that comes out of orange blossoms. And since I like grapes a bunch, I thought I'd make some that were actually a bunch of grapes. Kids, sometimes playing with your food can be fun. I want to thank Nadia Berenstein for her help with this video, and thank you for watching us. If you want to try this candy for yourself, you can get it on our website at www.pd.net. We ship worldwide. You can also get it in our store at Lofty Pursuits in Tallahassee, Florida. We're right off the Thomasville Road exit of I-10. And we're open 7 days a week. Most days we're open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. We don't make candy all the time, but we make it an awful lot, and if you're lucky, you're going to get to see us make some candy. If you want to see more of our videos, subscribe to us here on YouTube. We have over 100 backstock videos for you to watch too. Ring that bell so you get notifications. Sometimes we even do things live. And we're trying to get up to 1 million subscribers, and we'd like you to be one of them. And lastly, we've started a Patreon channel. And for the right level, you'll be getting additional podcasts and other information. In this video, we're planning on putting up Dr. Berenstein's full interview. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.